You've probably taken a look at those numbers from the New York Times. Even if you're not a polling expert, which you are, I mean, these numbers look bad, right? For Trump, this is not how you want to go into the midterms.
Yeah, it's not exactly going to instill confidence in Republicans, but at the same time, there's nothing they can do about it. They are stuck with him. And I know we're going to talk about some of the primaries and some of the results, but I think that's one of the really interesting dynamics that's playing out. These numbers are horrible. Even when you have Nate Cohn at the New York Times today saying, he's reaching a new low, and we've seen some of the other kind of pollsters and analysts talking about how they've had to change their charts to reflect how low he's going on some key issues. It's kind of amazing. And he also, when you look at some of the key issues in that polling too, his numbers he's down on immigration. He's underwater by 15 points. On the economy by 31 points. Now think about that. Those were supposed to be his two best issues, economy and immigration. People hate what he's doing on immigration, and they are feeling the effects of the economy. I mean, Donald Trump can say affordability is a hoax and, get mad at Democrats for talking about it. But in your lived experience, you're the expert. You know what you're paying for gas. You know what you're paying at the grocery store. You know what you're paying for your electric bill. Donald Trump doesn't, and not only doesn't know, he doesn't care. And he made that clear. Last week on his way to China, he basically said, I don't care.
Not his concern.
No.
But what he does seem to be concerned about is taking revenge on any Republicans who may have defied him. And we saw that over the weekend in Louisiana, where Senator Bill Cassidy, a medical doctor, did not even make the runoff for his primary. He finished third. Joe, were you surprised by that?
No, I really wasn't. And, we've seen a pattern here. Trump is on a mission to, get rid of anyone in the party who has defied him. Cassidy voted to impeach him. And Cassidy has done everything he can to kiss Trump's ass over the past few years to make up for it. I mean, he's the one, Dr. Cassidy is the one who helped give us RFK Jr.
Right.
And the menace towards all of our healthcare and all of our public health. So, and Louisiana, look what happened in Louisiana over the past couple of days after the Calais decision. The governor, Jeff Landry, I mean, he couldn't be more of a caricature of an old plantation master, deciding that he's going to end voting and postpone voting in congressional races so he can eliminate black districts.
Right.
Black held districts. So that was playing. It was one of the things that was interesting to me, and I'm a dork, so I pay attention to this. I was looking at the numbers, and there were about 400,000 votes cast on the Republican side, and this was when I was looking yesterday. And there were about 350,000 cast on the Democratic side. Which election got tons of attention, millions and millions and millions of dollars spent? The Republicans, right? You had member of Congress, a United States senator, a statewide official, 400,000 votes. Democrats, much more low-key event, 350,000. I thought that was really interesting to see that voters still showed up, Democratic voters showed up, and it goes to something I've been thinking, and we've talked a little bit. I do think voters understand the assignment right now. And we've seen it in a lot of special elections, and we've seen it in a lot of statewide elections and others.
Yeah. So previously, a couple of weeks ago, Indiana had their primary, and several Republicans who had bucked Trump on redistricting lost their primaries, kind of demonstrating what a lock Trump has on Republican primary politics. What I wanted to ask you, Joe, is what is the formula? If you go up against Trump, but you decide, wait, I want to save my own skin, I want to kiss his ass, how do you do that effectively? How do you become a Marco Rubio, who is our Secretary of State and some people think is the odds-on favorite to be the Republican nominee in 2028? How do you become him and not Bill Cassidy, who now is leaving the Senate with his tail between his legs?
Well, Marco Rubio in 2017, late 2016, became a MAGA Republican. Completely. I mean, he just did. They had a very intense primary fight. They fought about a lot of things. I mean, I won't get into some of the things they fought about, but it had to do with
Trump's hand size. That was the
hand size.
Yeah.
And Rubio told us how awful Trump would be. And then
She was correct about it.
Right. And the same with Lindsey Graham and the same with J.D. Vance. They told us how horrible Trump was going to be. Trump was that horrible. But they marched in lockstep. And there were a few of them. Look, after the January 6th attack on the Capitol, I think if the vote had been held a little sooner instead of delayed, you might have picked up a few more Republican votes. But I think after that, a lot of them thought this guy's finished. But he wasn't, and he controls that party. Now, I thought Indiana was interesting, and this is how I look at things, Susan. You're from Michigan. That same night, there was a special election in Michigan, Senate District, I think it was 35, Shedrick Green running, Saginaw Bay County, right around that area. And this was a district that Kamala Harris won by 1 point, 50-49. Shedrick Green won 59-39. Now, what's important about this race is it literally was control of the Michigan State Senate. It was either going to be 20-18 or 19-19. So both parties knew the stakes. Right. And Shedrick won by 20 points. And that was happening the same night that Republicans were losing in Indiana. And I saw a quote from G. Elliott Morris, who I just think is terrific. And he said, to survive a Republican primary today, for example, an elected official has to satisfy a base that is absolutely rabid for Trumpism. Fealty to the president is the price one has to pay for victory, yet such fealty is toxic in general elections. And I think, in the matchups between Democrats and Republicans these over the past year and a half, we have seen Democrats overperforming by about 13 points, and including in some very red districts, having some upset wins. And I think, the Republicans are having their fights among themselves about who can be most loyal to Donald Trump. And that may work in really hardcore red areas, but once you step outside of that, it creates problems for them.
Well, and that was my question, particularly about redistricting at this point, because we know that redistricting tends, if you create a safe red space, then you're not having a wealth of ideas, right? You're having a rush to the right. Same in a blue space, right? If it's safe blue, there you ultimately go to where the base is and further and beyond and beyond. But is that an opening for Democrats? I mean, it seems like the far right candidate, the Trump candidate, is so toxic in these safe red districts that it's not like the district is completely bereft of Democrats. I mean, there are contingencies. Like if they're winning by 5 points in those safe districts, is 5 points enough for a red district?
I think that's what we're going to find out. I mean, the overperformance has been around 13, and a good example, and Tennessee has been front and center because that's the other state that, boy, they were just rabid to eliminate the district that was a majority minority district in that state. And the way they did it, the show that those Republicans put on, I mean, it was like a Klan rally. It really was.
It really was.
We had Gloria Johnson on, state representative, one of the Tennessee 3, and hearing her describe the scene, it was really chilling.